Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Maritime Witch. Today we will be discussing of the year. Woohoo! Can I buy a vowel?
Yeah.
So today's discussion on the Wheel of the Year is actually going to be a very concise Reader's Digest version, just because there are 8 celebrations on the Wheel of the Year, and it can turn into quite a lengthy discussion by diving deep into each one. So I think what I will do is just give, like I said, the little Reader's Digest version, and then as episodes progress and we get closer to different celebrations, then I'll dive into each one a little bit more in depth. Yes. So the Wheel of the Year is an annual cycle of festivals. It's observed by many modern pagans. In Wicca, the story of the Wheel of the Year traditionally centers around the god and the goddess. It is the cycle of the god perpetually being born from the goddess, growing, and then impregnating the goddess at Beltane, reaching his peak at the summer solstice, and then passing into the underworld at Samhain. And then the goddess in turn ages and rejuvenates with the seasons as well. Something we can discuss a little bit more as we do in-depth discussions on each festival. So it consists of the year's chief solar events, solstices and equinoxes, and the midpoints between them. It's a nature-based calendar. It has 4 solar festivals and 4 fire festivals. The celebration is about every 6 weeks or so. The holidays can shift slightly year to year due to the fact that they revolve around astronomical events, but generally within the same few days each year. So the 4 lesser Sabbats include Yule, which is the winter solstice, generally between December 19th and 23rd. Ostara, which is the spring equinox between March 19th and 23rd. Letha, which is the summer solstice between June 19th and 23rd. And Mabon, which is the fall equinox between September 20th and 24th. The 4 greater Sabbats are Imbolc, which is February 1st to 2nd. Beltane, April 30th to May 1st. Lughnasadh, August 1st and 2nd. And Samhain, October 31st to November 1st. Deep breath. So I'm going to start with Yule, and then we will continue on from there. So starting again in between December 19th to 23rd, Yule celebrates the coming of the longer days and the return of the sun. Trees are decorated. Yule logs are burned to protect the home and bring good luck. Then in February 1st to 2nd, Groundhog Day.
What day is this? It's February 2nd. Groundhog Day.
It's Groundhog Day.
It's still just once a year, isn't it?
Imbolc celebrates the increasing daylight. It is a traditional holiday for rededications or for witch initiations. And Imbolc is also the first impressions of spring, depending, of course, on where you live. February in Nova Scotia generally tends to not give a lot of signs of spring.
No.
So then moving on to Ostara, between March 19th and 23rd, it is the spring equinox. It celebrates renewal and abundance. It is a time to plant seeds. It is the second of 3 springs on the Wheel of the Year. It celebrates light and darkness as they are once again in balance, with light being on the rise. It is a time to celebrate new beginnings, and we are emerging from winter. So then there is Beltane, April 30th, May 1st. It is a festival of love and romance. It marks a halfway point to Samhain, and this is one of the festivals that is considered to have the veil between this life and the afterlife to be somewhat thinner. It is celebrated with bonfires, maypoles, and dancing. And I know like around our area, now it has become tradition to have like May Day festivals and yard sales. So, it's quite a fun weekend here as well. Then we move into Litha, the summer solstice, which is June 19th to 23rd. This is when the day is the longest, and we give thanks and ask for a rich harvest. And it marks the beginning of the decline of the wheel of the year. So then in August 1st and 2nd, we celebrate Lughnasadh, which is the midpoint between summer and fall. This is considered to be the first harvest festival. It's for harvesting grains and giving thanks for the growth that has happened. And it is a feast traditionally of grains and breads. Then Mabon, the fall equinox between September 20th and 24th, is the second harvest festival, the fall equinox. It's typically when fruits and vegetables are harvested and give thanks for all that has been provided. And then we round out the wheel of the year with Samhain on October 31st to November 1st. This is kind of like our New Year's Eve. It is the beginning of a new year. It is when the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest, and it's easier to communicate with those that have passed. It is a time to honor all of our ancestors and all that was gifted, and for guidance. And it celebrates the lives of those who passed. Our celebration for Samhain goes right into celebrations for the Day of the Dead as well. So what do you do for all of these festivals? Well, I think I've said before in a previous podcast that I'm quite lazy. So our little rituals and celebrations are kind of short and sweet. I focus on decorating my altar with the colors and the flowers and the gemstones of that particular time. We always usually make sure that it's celebrated with the food and the drink of the season. And yeah, so that's about it. I forgot to mention that Sean's here. Sean's here.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Sean, do you have any questions?
I heard that the Yule log that everybody associates with Christmas is actually a much older tradition that goes back to the whole pagan thing.
Yes. The pagan aspect of the Yule log is that because it is the shortest day and the longest night, by burning the Yule log, it was a way to bring light into the home for that night. You can make Yule logs. I remember we actually had a Yule log growing up, and it was just, I don't think we ever burned it. It was just always put out just as a decoration for Christmas. And I do believe it was a piece of birch, and it had holes carved out for 2 red taper candles. And the candles were put in every year, and it was decorated with ribbons and greenery but the type of tree that you use, like anybody can make a Yule log. I'm sure there's some DIYs out there, but depending on what you want to bring into your home, if you're doing it for a ritual, the type of tree that you use obviously can be, there's some that you can use for prosperity or health or wealth.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. I didn't know that different types of trees mean different things.
That's what the botanical section is for.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. I'm not really sure why we didn't light the Yule log. Probably because I guess it was just the candles that would have burned down. But I actually should ask my mother if she still has it, because I'd like to have it, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a really good idea to burn candles on top of wood.
Well, I think traditionally what a lot of people did, though, was they actually put the Yule log in their fireplace.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have a fireplace. So
No.
that's just with everything when you're lighting a fire in your home. If you're having candles, it's just, safety precautions like you normally would.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Our candles are dollar store plastic,
Not all of them.
battery operated.
Not all of them. We have some nice charmed aroma candles that offer jewelry at the end of the burning, which is quite nice. All right. We actually have a festival coming up. We will discuss in the next episode in a little bit more detail, Lunasad.
So, if you remember, we went to Salem.
We did. We were very fortunate.
Yes, that was a fun trip. And you bought a banner. Mm-hmm. And the banner is that wheel, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And we once had a kitty, which was probably a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And that kitty cat was fascinated because the banner's up in the hallway. And that kitty cat would lay underneath that all the time and stare up at it.
Yeah.
So,
we never really figured out what point of the banner he was actually looking at.
yeah, it was like...
But yeah, he was fascinated with a certain point on the Wheel of the Year.
And he was fascinated with your Zen Den, too, which is right across from it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he was like the gatekeeper.
Yeah, it was like...
the guardian of the Zen Den.
If you can believe in magic, that cat was magic.
He was. He
'Cause
was.
He just knew there was something about that banner, and he knew there was something about that room. And he spent a lot of time in it.
That's because there were treats in there.
Oh.
But
So is that why I'm always going to the fridge?
that's where
Fear?
your treats are.
Okay, yeah.
But no, treats aside, he always wanted to be in there.
And he always wanted us to be in there, too.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And we don't spend nearly enough time in that room.
No, true.
Life is busy for everyone.
Yes.
So yeah, getting back to the Wheel of the Year, let's talk about our favorites. For me, I love Mabon and obviously Samhain. I am an autumn girl. I love everything about the autumn. The colors, the weather, the decorations. It is my favorite time of the year. It is when humidity in Nova Scotia disappears. I can do a little bit of heat, but I just can't do the humidity. It just drags me down. I'm not really a winter girl because I don't really like the cold. And I don't mind the spring. The spring is a little bit of a renewal. It's a little bit mucky and what have you. But yeah, summer and winter, each season obviously has its good things about it. There's no bugs in the wintertime. We live in a very buggy spot. And then anyways, getting away from our favorites, the other one too is even though I'm not a big fan of the heat of the summer solstice, I just absolutely love that festival. I discussed that in the last podcast, just how much fun we had and one of our first introductions to the Summer Solstice Festival. It just brings back really good memories for me. So it's just one of those festivals that I just really enjoy celebrating, even though we try to celebrate them all. Some of them not quite so in depth as other ones, because depending on life, depending on work, things do tend to get a little crazy for us at some points of the year. And actually, Yule is probably one of the least celebrated in our house. Not because we don't celebrate Christmas, because we do. It's just that it is just a really, really hectic time of year work-wise. I mean, people are on vacations, and it's the end of the year, so there's a lot of things that take place at work at the end of the year, and your Christmas shopping, and you're trying to put in family and friends and work and everything else. So it's one of those celebrations that kind of just gets rushed and put by the wayside. So not at the top of my list for favorite ones.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, I'm not an autumn girl.
You're not much of an autumn girl.
No, I'm not really a summer girl either. Actually, when it comes to like all these, I'm not a girl at all, but I like being a boy. It kind of fits me. I like
I just snorted. That got a snort.
Yes. I like
Oh, probably shouldn't say that. No, I'm not snorting anything.
No. You're drinking a little non-alcoholic wine.
Yeah, a little non-alcoholic. Yep, that's what I'm sipping on. A little bit of non-alcoholic vino.
I do like Halloween because to me, a person that's just a normal person, I don't call it Samhain. I just call it Halloween.
Yep.
I'm not insinuating that you're not normal by saying I'm a normal person.
We all know I'm not normal, but that has nothing to do with anything. I'm just not normal.
But I do like Halloween, and I do like the summer one.
The summer solstice.
Yeah. I like that one because that's just nice to. It's almost like things are coming to life again.
For some reason, summer solstice always seems to be one of those festivals that we kind of put a little bit more effort into. And I don't know that we did this year. Not really memorable, but, again, we try to celebrate at least with food and drink.
Well, actually, this one was memorable, but for different reasons because I ended up in the hospital and
kind of like right on summer. So that is actually, because I said that it was the longest day of the year, and it turned out that it was the longest day and the longest night.
Yes.
So yes, because we were in the emerge for 12 hours.
Which is a whole other story, but I digress.
Yes. So the thing with the harvest festivals too is we're definitely not, we reap what others harvest because we are not gardeners for several reasons. One, because we live in an area that is quite traveled by wildlife, and a garden would just really never survive with all the little critters that we have coming through. And the fact that you and I, even though all four of our parents were blessed with the gardening touch, it was not passed on to either you or me.
No, I always say, when it comes to growing anything, the only thing that we can grow is frustrated.
Well, I'm growing old. I'm doing that, I think, hopefully gracefully, but...
Got a question.
Yes.
Luna sod, is that because of the moon?
So actually, it has nothing to do with the moon. Well, I mean, it depends on the moon phase during the celebration, I'm sure. But Lunasod actually comes from the name Lu, which is an Irish god, and Nasad, which means assembly. So it's like an assembly of the gods. Lu created Lunasod actually as a funeral feast. And it was an athletic competition in honor of his mother, who died of exhaustion after clearing the plains of Ireland in preparation for farming.
That's a lot.
You asked.
It's some kind of athletic thing at a funeral? I mean, that's... Okay, well, that makes sense. Good to know.
So, having said all this, I think that was the very, very, very Reader's Digest version. Like I said, we'll dive into some of the ins and outs of the festivals as we progress through the podcast and we get closer to each one. So having said that, we will move on to the botanical section of the podcast.
And the time has come for plants to take back the world so rightfully ours.
Welcome to the botanical section of the podcast. Today, the botanical that I have chosen to celebrate is the bay leaf. The bay leaf is associated with the sun and Leo and the element of fire. It is used to enhance psychic powers and to purify your home. You can put it underneath your pillow for inspiring dreams. It is also used in banishing spells, protection, and divination, and it also really gives a great flavor to homemade spaghetti sauce.
Yummy.
So that was the botanical section, and now we will move on to the gemstone section of the podcast.
I want to rock.
So the gemstone I've chosen for this week is the tiger eye. Now, I know I say I have a lot of personal favorites. I just like a lot of rocks, but I've always had an affinity to this one. Even when I was a little girl, I remember being quite drawn to tiger eye. It reflects negativity. It is considered to be a talisman. It protects against jealousy, It's used for balance and grounding. It brings good luck and self-confidence. And actually, tiger eye was once considered more precious than gold. And so concludes the gemstone portion of the podcast.
Wasn't that in a Sinbad movie? No, that's the Eye of the Tiger, wasn't it?
That's Rocky.
Oh, okay. I get all my movies mixed up.
Rocky 3?
Oh, wasn't it Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of 6 degrees or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon there, because there's like Rocky and Survivor.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the shout out section of the podcast. But before we do, we will be right back.
Hey, are you looking for a unique gift for someone that you love? Or maybe you just want to treat yourself? Well, check out By the Cove Creations Wood Decor. Beautifully handcrafted wood designs for you and your home. By the Cove Creations in Marriotts Cove, Nova Scotia. Visit www.bythecovecreations.com.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
Chester, Nova Scotia is a great place to visit and walk around. But when your feet get tired or your tummy starts to growl, well, that's when you should head into Imperfections Cafe on 54 Queen Street, Chester. Great coffee and treats, all-day breakfast, soups, and made-to-order sandwiches to tickle your taste buds. It's also a great place to catch up with friends and treat yourself. Imperfections Cafe, once again located at 54 Queen Street, Chester.
We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go!
And just like magic, we are back. Shout outs, yay! So we still have not had any marriage proposals. If you have a shout out, again, events, birthdays, anniversaries, you just want to say hi to the world, then email me at themaritimewitch@gmail.com. But we actually do have a shout out. July 22nd, if you are in Chester, Nova Scotia, there is a spiritual fair at the Chester Legion on 14 Union Street, obviously in Chester, Nova Scotia. It runs from 10 a.m. until I do believe 3. Not sure at this point if there is an admission or not. I do believe that there will be kitchen facilities available if you want to grab like a hot dog or a hamburger. And yours truly will be a vendor again at this fair. So if you want to stop by and say hello, feel free to do so. And hope to see you there. And so concludes, unless we get any shout outs, that ends. But hey, it wasn't quite so pathetic this time. I actually had a shout out. Yay!
You sold it.
I did. So that ends the podcast for this week. So next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, join me when we will be discussing witchcraft and misconceptions about witches and witchcraft. And until then, may the universe find you happy and healthy and safe. Blessed be.